Director of Engagement. Thanks for the recording, Director of Engagement and Membership. And this is the monthly section leader support call. Again, this is the call that we have for section leaders and their executive committee and others who are invited to kind of talk about what's going on with sections, also for staff to give you some key learnings and some information about how to help you do your jobs as section leaders. But also, most importantly, we want to make sure that sections get to talk to sections about what you're working on. So let's go to the agenda. So we've got the welcome. We're going to do our, as you know, we do a section spotlight now. So this month, it's the education section along with AGU development, talking about section fundraising. And we want to not only hear from the education section and staff, but to hear your questions and your ideas on what you've done as leading practices, best practices in this space, or what you'd like to learn from each other. We also are going to talk about AGU communications and how do we craft the AGU story. And we'll get into that a little bit more. And then we have open mic as usual. I will say that this is a robust agenda in terms of the content you're about to see. So it's going to be very tight. So I'm going to apologize in advance, in particular to our speakers in case I cut you off. But this is being recorded. You can forward this information after the fact to your other section colleagues if you like. It will get sent to you either later today or sometime tomorrow. But we want to make sure that you all have the opportunity to talk with each other. So we're going to try and facilitate that. So I'm going to now turn it over to Amber Levy, who's our VP of Affiliation, Engagement, and Membership, to welcome you as well.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Rosa. It's good to see you all. I think I've had an opportunity to meet most of you, but it's nice to see you all. I'm going to keep my comments brief because it is very robust, our agenda today. So I want to first welcome our early career and student council members who are joining us today. Welcome, welcome. We're thrilled to have you here, and all of this work is so interconnected. So welcome. And then the other quick update I will provide you all before we jump in is I promise to keep you informed and updated on all of the membership research that has been ongoing. And I know you heard a significant update at the last council meeting. We are now in phase 2 still, and we will probably be wrapping up in the next month or so. So expect another significant update at the September council meeting for those of you who do attend the council meeting. And, you know, we're still learning, and it very much interconnects with a lot of what you're going to be hearing about today from the strategic communications and marketing team and the research that they've been doing. It's really reinforcing what we're hearing out there. And for those who were present at the council meeting, you probably remember that, you know, right now what AGU is really known for is fall meeting, our annual meeting. And so there's so much potential. And so I can't wait for you to hear from the team about what they've learned so far, how it's very interconnected. And we can't wait to hear your feedback. So more to come. But with that said, I will go ahead and Rosa, I will hand it back to you. And if anyone ever wants to reach out to me directly about any of this membership work, please do so. I'd love to hear from you. Rosa, back to you.
Thanks so much, Amber. I really appreciate it. So why don't we jump right in to the next topic? And we have Vicki Thompson, who's the Assistant Director in AGU Development, and Tanya Furman, past President of the Education Section. And again, jump in with your, we want this to be conversational, particularly from the section standpoint. So Vicki and Tanya, let me turn it over to you guys.
Hi. Hi, everybody. I'm Vicki Thompson. I am as Rosa said, the Assistant Director in the Development Department. I work on many things fundraising at AGU. And one of the great things that I get to do is work with the sections. I know I feel like I've talked to a lot of you this year in a lot of different ways. But as part of our presentation today, I wanted to go ahead and before we get into the section spotlight with the wonderful education section, I wanted to just do a little talking about the sponsorship program. for section sponsorship program this year. So just as a reminder, every year the sections have the opportunity to reach out to the community, to corporations in the community or others that they know in the community to ask for sponsorships for their section's work. So a few years ago, we worked on sort of streamlining the process a little bit to help everybody sort of know where the sponsorships fall in line. So right now we have 3 sponsorship categories that range from $1,000 to $5,000. So $1,000, $2,500, and $5,000. And those are sort of prearranged packages, which we'll get to in a second if we could just run back to the other slide. So we'll get to the items in each of those buckets in just a second. But just know that any sponsorships that fall outside or feel like they're falling outside of these buckets because they're more, or they're more dollars, or maybe they're more engagement or something like that, we can work more specifically on together. So just as a reminder, these sponsorships are meant to support your section's work. So perhaps supporting webinars, trainings, early career opportunities, additional student travel grants that your section might want to offer to your members above and beyond the AGU program and any of those board designated funds you have, or caregiver awards and other unique programs that you might come up with. They're not meant to support your business meetings or your subsidized receptions or luncheons during fall meeting. If you have other events that are not subsidized, let's talk about that and how we can work with sponsors to help support you in that work. So next slide. So just as a reminder, these are our sort of buckets for sponsorships. So at the $1,000 level, all of the sponsorships have unique recognition opportunities for the sponsors. Most of the recognition, since it is in support of your section, comes through your channels. So your section specific websites, AGU Connect, any newsletters that you might have, call out recognition or speaking recognition at a section event. It doesn't have to be your business meeting or your reception. It could be another event. It could be something else you're doing during the year. It doesn't have to be at fall meeting. That's just kind of an obvious time. And then in addition to that, there's some access to your event at fall meeting, to some student travel grant networking events that the development team runs, and then recognition on AGU platforms such as in the annual report or AGU Weekly. So those are outlined here, and I'll send you this separately outside of this meeting. So you have this as a tool along with a letter that can help support your activities. So the next slide. So just a quick reminder about like what your role as section leaders is, what my role as the development staff, and then what Josh's role and his team's role is. So your role is, you can feel free once you're thinking about your sponsors. Some of you have already done this. It's wonderful. Let's have conversations about these potential sponsors, just so that we can have free flow of information. Perhaps we have some information to share, or maybe there's synergy between sections we can work out, share the opportunities. And then once you get some bites, or once you get some interested parties, connect me in the process, and we can work together on getting these sponsors either in place or sharing more information as is needed. So my role is to share tools, these benefit structures, the draft letter, which you'll be getting, to help you solicit your potential sponsors. And then obviously working with you on anything that sort of feels like it's falling outside of those buckets. And then I do all of the invoicing, all of the agreements, all of the making sure that the benefits are being fulfilled, with, poking you when you need poking, to put logos places, or to put things on websites and things like that, or to call out to people during your events. And then Josh helps in supporting the planning and execution of any of the sort of programmatic things that you want your sponsorships to support, whether it's additional student travel grants or other awards or other things that your team is working on. So Josh plays an integral part in this as well. So next slide. So this is just a little bit about the process, which I think I sort of already said, but so you do the initial outreach, we have conversations while you're doing that. I can help you brainstorm. Then I work with the sponsors or with interested parties to help close the sponsorship, do all the paperwork. and then help you facilitate any benefits that are on your websites and things like that. I facilitate other benefits, and we all work all along with Josh to make sure that the actual activities are happening. So next slide. So so again, I'll share materials on that tomorrow. But so just as a reminder, we also, in addition to sponsorships, we want to work with you on other initiatives for your fundraising. So some of the things that I've already talked to some sections about are your section specific donation sites, language for your newsletters, specific email solicitations. And then we're already working on some and have been working on some special initiatives with some sections. So this is just a sampling. I guess the next thing is to have our section spotlight with the education section. Before, I guess, we'll chat at the end. Okay. So Tanya. So I'll kick us off, and then Tanya and I will kind of play ping pong for the next couple of slides and the discussion that we hope we'll have. So one of the things that I've been really excited to have a chance to work on with the education section, we kicked it off in 2021, is the Honor an Educator campaign. So the education section raised their hand in 2021 that they wanted to do this special effort to encourage their members to make a gift for a specific purpose, for specific use within the education section, and at the same time, make the gift in honor or tribute of an educator in their life, whether it was someone that taught them or someone that they see teaching others, anything like that. So the campaign is, we've done it in 2021, we did some in 2022, and now I'm having sort of a renewed effort in 2023. So I'll let Tanya explain a little bit more about why the education section wanted to do this and sort of the background.
Thank you, Vicki. And I'm going to start by saying how grateful we are to Vicki's hard work and the coordination in trying to get this campaign started and try to bring it to fruition. We were a very new section at that time. And so we had, a need for operating funds, but we also felt a desire to show to both our members and to the rest of the AGU community some of the ways in which we, as educators, are really part of the whole fabric of AGU. And so I'm going to tweak a little bit one thing that Vicki said, because really the campaign is not just for our members in the education section to contribute money. The idea behind Honor an Educator is for people in any of the sections to reflect for a minute and say, I didn't just arrive here at AGU with a PhD and a faculty position. There are people who helped me along the way. And financially, it makes really good sense to all sections to encourage their folks to contribute to Honor an Educator. I'll do the financial part first and then the moral part. The money that is donated does go to the education section, but the credit for the money that is donated goes to the home section of the donor. So if you are a member in biogeosciences and you give money, that your donation counts toward the AGU matching funds that are conferred upon the sections at the end of the year. So we view this very much as an organization-wide win-win. If you do contribute money, you get this, a note gets sent to the person whom you have honored, saying that they have been recognized, and we make the names and their affiliations public on our website. And I think it's just a really nice way of allowing people to, again, just reflect for a minute and see all the things that you might be thankful for. Mm-hmm. We have, and I think Vicki's got the numbers on the next page, right? Let's take a look at the numbers. Yeah. We have been in some ways pretty successful in raising money. The numbers, I'll get to Martha's question in a minute. I can't multitask, my brain is too small. The number of gifts and the total dollar value of the gifts can be shown there. And we've used this money really successfully to help support early career and student members and K-12 teachers to participate in fall meeting. And we have a K-12 working group for teachers. And, you know, if they have special requests, we can help support them through these funds as well. We have done, with Vicky's help, and with the efforts of the section, of social media blitz and ad campaign, we've put in the newsletter. Right now we're running a past presidents challenge, where if everybody gives enough money, then I'll make a donation, which, you know, we know how that works. What we run up against, and I will say this for anybody who's going to try to raise money, is that AGU has not had a history of being a philanthropic organization. Most members have a pretty transactional relationship with the organization. Here are my dues. Thank you for fall meeting. Thank you for the publications. And so it has been when I look at the dollars, it doesn't feel like it has been a really, really tough sell. But when I think about the degree to which the membership of AGU has all benefited from working with high quality educators in their careers, and the number of $50 donations that it would take to really, really make a difference, I would like us all to do more. So those are the positives, and I guess the negatives. I think it's a clever idea. We're the team that came up with it, but I think it's an appropriate idea for development for our section. So I'll kick it back to Vicki, who can set me straight on anything.
No, yeah, I think you spoke well about the campaign and the reasons behind it. I just wanted to clarify one thing in case there's new people on the call. The financial benefit that Tanya was talking about, that your section gets credit if your members give to this campaign specifically. It's just a reminder about the section incentive program, which is that if a primary member in your section gives $50 to any fund or any combination of AGU funds, you get a participation point essentially towards that. And if 5% or more of your members give to any AGU fund in that way, then you start getting sort of benefits for that. So 5%, you get $1,000 back for your section. I think 7% maybe is the next $2,000. That's all available on the Section Leader AGU Connect site. And I can also send that out if anybody wants that in their inboxes as well. One of the things, and I think that we're so lucky to have an opportunity to look at the numbers like this together. One of the things that's really interesting is the percentage change of donating since we started the campaign. So while the actual response to the Honor an Educator campaign has been perhaps less than we had hoped it would be, actual number of donations there, the overall amount of money that has been being raised by the education section over the past few years has been increasing. And I think that that's, in a way, I think that some of the Honor an Educator marketing has sort of brought more attention to the education section, what they want to do with their funds, what they do for their members and their activities. So, so I think that's one thing that we can see in these numbers. I tried to, if anybody has any questions about these, I tried to break them out so that they sort of made sense year to year, but then breaking out specifically with the campaign and other monies raised. So yeah, so I think that's really, really great. And as Tanya said, we've done all sorts of marketing, emails to the education section specifically, social media, AGU social media, also placement in AGU Weekly, to the general whole AGU world. So yeah, do we have anything else to share on this, Tanya?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Happy to take questions.
Yeah, there looks like there's a couple of things in the chat, but also raise your hand too. And we're gonna, again, the tight agenda, but let's see, Kristen asked, does development give sections a count of how many points they have accumulated at different junctures?
We don't give official counts at different junctures during the year, just because it's your percentage participation is based on number of gifts by your primary membership. And those numbers are fluctuating depending on the time of year and how people are choosing to affiliate. So what people often ask me is right before fall meeting, they'll say, oh, how many do we need to get over the line? And I can sort of give you a casual counsel on that. But we don't officially send out numbers during the year. We just send numbers out in the early part of the following year. We use the number as of December 31st for both your primary membership and your gifts given.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions or any sharing of what other sections have been doing in this space while we have a couple of minutes? All right. Well, Tanya and Vicki, thank you so much. And you can certainly get in touch as well with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Vicki, it sounds like you're going to be doing some follow-up. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm answering some questions in the chat, and I'll also put my email address in the chat. So if you have any specific questions about your section or how we might work together, please reach out.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let's go to the next slide as we introduce the next section here. So Josh Weinberg, VP of what we call SCM, Strategic Communications and Marketing, and Donna Murphy of D. Murphy Insights are going to talk a little bit about research and the communication space. So without further ado, Josh, you want to start us off?
Sure. Thanks, Rosa. And thank you, Amber. You're both wonderful, wonderful partners to SCM, as is the whole membership community, and Josh as well. It's nice to have somebody with the same last name. We're going to talk to you, as Amber sort of set it up at the beginning of the call, about the work and the hearing and the listening and the doing and the talking and all the activity that goes around kind of a research endeavor on what is the AGU story, what is the AGU narrative that we know is here and is strong, but is something that we really want to share in a much more focused, muscular, strong, future forward way. And as Amber was saying, there's so much that is kind of going on concurrently in a really great, like, parallel pathing kind of sense with the membership work. What communications and strategy has been doing, and I'm going to let Donna do a lot of this talking in a minute, but what we've been doing is sort of thinking about, you know, we have a long laundry list of accomplishments and of exciting initiatives, and you just were hearing about how we honor and how we include and engage everybody who inspires us in terms of our instructors and teachers and how that makes science come alive. But we thought there was a really amazing opportunity that we have to share and widen the AGU story. So if we go to the next slide, it really comes down to changing the culture of science, to using this opportunity, which eventually, hopefully, can become a broad campaign that's out there that sells membership, but sells the whole idea of partnership with AGU. This is down the road, so we are in the research phase, and this is why we want your input and feedback now. But that's sort of the hope and the dream, that we can sort of take all of this and sort of look at all the things that are sort of the secret sauces to AGU and what makes it us special, and kind of convert that into a really, really powerful, engaging story. So you can see how we kind of mapped out this opportunity. And we think it's a way to dial up that inspiration. It's a way to kind of unite discovery and solution science to kind of play into what is our history and our heritage, but also our hope and the future of where AGU can go, and really where society can go across all fields. And we've talked so much about the intersections and the interdisciplinary nature of science, which makes it so exciting today. If we go on to the next slide, I want to sort of start by saying this really is rooted in our strategic plan. I know a lot of you have seen this, all those delicious pieces of the AGU pie or pizza. But the thing that I think is so great about the plan is that it's sort of the gift that keeps on giving. It is big and broad and ambitious, but it can feed into all kinds of new projects. And that's exactly what has happened here. We take this really as our base, as something that we know this is what we need to continue to meet and to realize. And then the question is, well, how do we do that? How do we give voice to that? And so we've been doing a lot of talking and a lot of listening to a lot of folks around the AGU sort of world and outside the AGU world. And the wonderful person that has been leading that is Donna Murphy. So I'm going to turn it over to Donna. She is an incredible marketer and researcher, influencer and thinker, has worked with incredible brands over the years, from nonprofits to for-profits to causes, corporations. And she's just been a great partner in this. So I will turn it over to Donna.
Thank you, Josh. And really nice to meet everyone on this call. It's been, I've been waiting to meet you, so it's very exciting to be here. Just to say that when I first started having these conversations with Josh about this project and about sort of the vision that was unfolding for AGU, this is the literal starting place that we began with, this understanding of how important these strategic goals and this plan was to create a balance, if not a yes and, with discovery science, that solutions would be an addition, not to negate or take away from anything. This idea of inclusion in a world where interdependence and diversity is becoming not just a hot button, but will see us into the future if we really embrace that. And then this idea of how do we build and broaden this tent of AGU so that we have a robust community that can help us on this path to changing and moving science. So on to the next slide. One of the things that we immediately understood, and I think even, Tanya, you mentioned that word transactional when you were talking about education. I was like, yes, that's exactly it. So on one side, and even though this says plus and negatives, on the one side, what we do really well and what we excel at is this transactional side. We build credibility. We are this arbiter of legitimizing science. It's where people publish. It's where the annual meeting happens. It's where we really root in these things that make the power of science. Where we're underperforming, and this is a real synopsis of things that we've heard so far, is this idea of connecting to a broader community, of building partners in that career path along the way and I'm glad there's so many students on, because we talked to a lot of students along the way. And what happens is we've done really well with this transactional, but we're not kind of building this relational, where we can create these long lasting connections and mentorships where we can hone the message of sharing science and how can we help in that navigation of a career, whether it's at the, just stepping in and what science should I be approaching, to on the other end, which is the legacy end. So we'll talk a little bit more about that if we scooch along to the next slide. So as we started on this process, again, starting with that strategic plan, we really wanted to focus the journey and make sure that whatever we were approaching was coming out of what was already established, that the AGU vision was to have a culture infused with the values of excellence, integrity, respect, diversity, collaboration, science education, and outreach. And so out of that, we said, okay, so the ambitions that we're really trying to support is supporting science for the good of Earth and humanity, a very, very big, audacious ambition, expanding AGU's reach and effect through that, and developing and owning a voice. I always like to say, much like NASA has a voice, and we can do that too. So some of those goals are, how do we create that attachment to AGU? On the transactional side, we know you come in as a member and you join, and certain things, there's a relationship that happens, but beyond that, how do we create that, from the literal to the deeper sense of belonging and attraction, and the why? Why are people going to say, I need to call AGU? When do they turn to AGU for help or response or partnership, and why? And then this connection again to the inside and beyond the science community. So on to the next slide. So engaging in that wider community and strategically changing and inspiring the culture of science is something where I think we kind of all want to land in for AGU, that nobody else can really do it the way that AGU has the possibility of doing it. It's full of possibility for this. So there's two sides to this picture. One is more of opening science. We've talked a lot about the year of open science, and one of the things that we've landed on is this idea of opening science, like opening it from a information perspective and also from belonging perspective, legitimizing science, more of that, more of creating trust in science, creating that this is science opens possibilities, and we should believe in it. And then also more of the discovery science. So not less of that, more of that. That is where the inspiration comes. That is where minds get blown. That is where the solutions can fall out of, right? In the growing side of the community becomes this real, purposeful move into interdisciplinary inclusion, more diversity in the science side. How do we attract a broader group of people into science and say, you belong here too? And then again, how do we create a space for solutions? We're living in a world where, we've got kids who are having eco-anxiety because of climate change. How do we help attack some of these things that we can actually help with in terms of solutions? So on to the next. So in terms of methodology, we've done a number of steps already. So you've heard about Amber and her member research and really turning the gaze on that yoke of the centerpiece of what AGU is, like the members and what's important to them. What do they need from AGU? After that, myself and my team kind of stepped in. We went through all of that with Amber. We looked at a lot of the McKinley research that's been done over the past few years, but we also really dove into the AGU team and did a lot of stakeholder interviews top down to understand what are the connections and disconnects in terms of the story, in terms of the desires, in terms of the possibilities. We talked to outside of the community. We talked to global science students. And I will tell you one thing that is a really interesting piece of the puzzle is when we said, what about discovery and solutions? They were kind of like, well, they go together. They're very interconnected. They're very hand in glove. And so they want to go into the discovery world, knowing that someone can pick it up and take it and move it into the solutions world. So it was really sort of exciting to see their kind of bright-eyed optimism about that, among many things. We talked to people from a wider ecosystem. So we can go into more detail when we get into some roundtables, which we're going to talk about, but everything from a PhD psychologist who has stepped into for 30 years running a program along the Rio Grande to propagate the water and the ecosystems along that corridor that is one of the biggest migration corridors. And everything that he's had to do to make that successful, piece by piece by piece. AGU could put him over the fence with that when we step in, if we can. To places like LACU, which is an organization in Haiti that is working to teach the Haitians how to work with building and creating a community that can thrive, but also do well with the environment, because that is, one of the things that keeps them down. On and on we go. We talked to people, adjacent to our geophysical world in terms of scientists, and that was very fascinating. And what we found, what's next on this list is creating these roundtables with the sections, which we'll come to in a little bit more detail. But on to the next slide, and I'll tell you a little bit about the findings that we have. Is this the headline truly is that we have the capacity to an opportunity to grow this community. On one side of this, on the left-hand side, you see aware of AGU. So this is everything from the members to people who are submitting to journals, partnerships. They understand AGU. They're very much in the community. On the unaware side, and some of those people are aware, but they need to be reminded of what AGU is. Even some of the students had heard about it, or their professors had told them about it, but they didn't know enough about it. Once they start to learn about AGU, they get very excited. They want to understand, how do I belong to this place? How do I How can I use them? What can I offer them? So there becomes this sort of relationship. And again, back to that transactional to relational movement, it starts to happen even just in a short conversation with them. So this is everything that I just described. We talked to students, global students embarking on their science career. They're really looking for an advisory role. What science should I go into? Who should I be talking to? What's out there? What can I be thinking about? Mid-careerists, we talked to a bit. That was really Amber's world. But people who just are busy and they need support, and more support from AGU. And then this bucket of late careerists that are really on the outside. They're bridging into everything from urban planning on and on. And they are really wondering what their legacy is and how can they come back and mentor and impact some of the people just entering into the science world. The unaware of AGU in this real adjacent and science interested bucket. And again, you see on this outer blue ring of general population. We'll get to that down the road, but right now we have to stay focused on this journey inside. And as we start to bridge out, we can't do everything, but we need to stay in this world of people who believe in and appreciate and understand the power of science. And that's really what was in that adjacent bucket of, we understand that we need science in this complex world, and we need diverse minds at the table, and we need to ask questions, and we need to provoke solutions. So that's really what was sitting in that bucket. It was very exciting. So on to the next slide. So some of the emergent themes that were coming out to as we approach this idea of fully embodying what is that AGU story, what is that narrative to go forward with, and how do we support all those values and offerings back to that strategic plan that we have, is balancing that relational and transactional and creating that relational space to come in. So as we commit to advancing the culture of science, we know these things to be true. AGU is committed to opening science, to adding diverse populations, interests, and being much more globally minded. AGU builds and convenes this powerful, committed, and flexible community around science. And AGU legitimizes science over and over and over. Back to that discovery science, never goes away. It's just, this is all additive. And AGU is more than that one annual meeting. So we took that elephant in the room of that one annual meeting being the place that we convene, and that as the superpower, and said, what else does convening mean? It means all of these things. It means bringing this broader community. And how do we do that? So on to the next slide. So this is really where we want to engage and work with you at this point. So I know Amber has sort of had her gaze into the yoke with the members and been asking all of those questions of, what do you need? What's on your journey? Now we're looking to ask, how can we engage and broaden this AGU community? What are your ideas? What are your thoughts? And how would you imagine we achieve inspiration and engagement with students entering the science fields with, these adjacent scientists and organizations to create that wider community for AGU? And then input on how, what does it mean to change the culture of science, and how are we going to participate in that? So if we go to the next slide, I'm zooming along so we can have some conversation. We're going to form these roundtables, and we really want you to join. And so they're going to be digital because we're still in that world. It makes it easier. But we'll have about 5 people per roundtable, and so we would ask you, like, who, if you can't join, then who from your section would you like to have participate? We want to make sure we have representation from all the sections. And within those, our conversations, what we really want to talk about, and the reason we're keeping them kind of small within the number of roundtables, is so that we can have robust conversation about, who can we bring together when we talk about building that community, and what problems can we organize around, and what intersections do we want to create to discover and solve. So those are just a handful of our questions. And then there would be, obviously, what are your questions, and how can we make sure that we're hearing your voice and addressing those things as we're moving into building that narrative and that voice for AGU that can actually create this volume in the world. So there's a sign up form here too that Heather has put together for us, which I appreciate. But any questions, comments?
Anyone? Stick your information in the chat, or meaning your comment, or raise your hand. We want this to be conversational. And we will be sending, as I mentioned at the top of the call, and as we usually do, a post-event email that has this sign up link and a reminder, so you can pass this along in case you're not able to do it now, and for people who aren't on the call, so that will go to all sections. Kristen.
So thanks for helping us see how you're taking survey and interview information and trying to gather it and create an aspirational path or goal. That's what I'm taking away, and that you want more information. That's what the roundtables are about. Are the roundtables topical, or it's totally free form? I'm not really clear on what I'd be signing up for or what I'd be encouraging someone else to sign up for.
Yeah, that's a great question. So a little of both is my answer to that. Because the reason that we want to talk to all the sections is to hear, are there specific things coming from your section that can actually add to this bigger narrative? And then also talk about, if you stepped out of your section for a second and said, wow, what could we as a member of AGU start to mean in terms of this changing the culture of science? If that were sort of the, a headline. That is not a campaign headline, by the way. That is more of a creative strategy piece of the puzzle. So it would be a little bit of both to have that, to not answer you directly, but directly.
Could I a quick reply then? Because Rosa, you said that there were a lot of student and early career members that, or at least that they were encouraged to be on this call. I don't have a good sense of how the council representatives that are student and early career coordinate and connect with the section leaders that are student and early career. And I guess I'd encourage that maybe you have a roundtable specifically about that, or specifically gathering people or student and early career from sections plus the council student and early career, because it seems like there's a gap of a potential that could be built upon if that's more coordinated.
I love
Thanks.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I was about to call on Pranoti, but I see she's put something in the chat. So yeah, she can probably explain a little more. Pranoti, did you want to mention anything now, or just kind of connect later?
Sure, I'm happy to say this. It's actually the section reps and the council leaders, who are students and early career representatives. They are meeting in a virtual way through Mentoring 365. They have their own circle. They've been doing this for, I think, 3 or 4 months now. So this is already happening. It was a very grassroots effort, and so it made life so much simple for all of us at AGU. They had great interest, and we had a way for them to connect. So I hope that helps.
That's great.
We have some comments in the chat as well. All right, any other thoughts or questions? Donna or Josh, do you have any other wrap up?
Well, I was going to just remind folks, obviously we were recording this. So for people who couldn't make it, I think Donna obviously does a great job sort of setting the scene and then kind of getting us all to dive in and understand the process. And Kristen, thank you for that question, because I think that's important to understand the next step. But we are definitely here to get everybody and anybody's feedback. So please reach out. And you know, I would just urge everybody to, I know summers can be a little challenging, but maybe everybody's a teeny bit freed up. So encourage everybody to participate in the roundtables. And this is just a really exciting process, because like the way we started off the call talking about membership work, and then we're talking about kind of that storytelling, that narrative, like what's the AGU story, and so many things are coming together. But we want to be really careful and thoughtful about getting everybody's contribution. And so that's what this whole period of time is about.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You know, hopefully you'll get some pickup on the roundtables. I encourage everybody to sign up and to forward the information to others. And Josh and Donna will also reach out to the other sections who weren't here to make sure they get the information. So, all right.
Thanks.
So before we get to open mic, I did want, this was not on the agenda. Oh, Allison, you've got a note here. When will the roundtables be held? Actually, I don't have the dates in front of me, but they are in the form. Josh, you remember the dates?
I did not commit them to memory, but
me neither. There it is. There it is. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
We should also say we just were trying to get them done. And so we just committed to those. We stuck a landing on those dates. If those dates are really not working for anybody, just reach out and we'll see what we can do.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So this is not on the agenda, but we wanted to give you a little bit of a preview of the Learning Strategy Task Force. Eric, I think you're on and you're going to talk a little bit about that. And as you're coming off of mute, I will also mention that in August, this August version of the monthly meeting, the section leader call, is going to be devoted to the learning strategy, but I wanted to do a little preview here. So Eric, are you around to do that? I'm not seeing all the names, so I'm not sure if you are. Oh, I don't see. I guess we lost him. All right, sorry, I'm like clicking through. So one of the things that is going on is that there is a learning strategy task force, and you will get, we don't have it here, but there will be information on the charge of what that is that will go in the post-event email that you will get, along with the recording and the information about the communications roundtables as well. The task force is looking for volunteers to help from among the section leadership. So when we send out that email, I hope you will take a look and participate. It talks a little bit about what the scope is and what the scope of the participation is. So I hope you look at that. And again, we don't have the information here, but it will be in the email that goes out either today or tomorrow from Josh McKee, so look for his name. So with that, unless I can find either Eric or Sam, who I don't see.
Hey, Rosa, I'm here. Sorry, I wasn't sure if you're talking about a different Eric. I don't have the materials from Sam, so I think what may make the most sense is for us to post something to the Connect group when it's available, okay?
Okay, yeah, and we do have some information that we're loading into an email. So yeah, okay.
Sorry about that.
All right. Yeah, no, my understanding is that that it was you, but I think we're good, and we have a preview for you coming up for the next meeting, so we're good.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you. All right, so why don't we turn it into open mic? So any questions that you have about what we've talked about so far, or anything else? Or if there are, you always hear me say this every month, if there are topics that you want us to talk about in our upcoming meetings, I'm always looking for topics. And I'm always looking for you all to help guide those topics and like Tanya did and talk about the topics. So let me know what you want to say in the chat or raise your hand. Anyone?
I'm sorry, I'm on a phone and I don't know how to raise my hand.
That's okay.
It feels
Go ahead,
like kind of
Kimberly.
a child, right? I don't know how to raise my hand, but I have I had a question of clarification about, can I ask a question or is there someone in line ahead of me? I can't see
No,
that.
you're good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So I had a question of clarification about the fundraising. There was a comment made about, I think by Victoria, that said we cannot, like we can raise things for specific efforts, but not things that are already AGU sponsored or board sponsored, but I might have misheard that. But I was looking for, we're kind of looking for a way to raise more money in support of our early career and student efforts. We find sometimes there's not enough money to do everything. like the student mentoring event or, or whatever we do for that night, for the food and beverages. And then also we want to sponsor some scholarships, travel funding and things like that. So I just want to double check, is that something that's left that we cannot raise sponsorship for, or can we do that?
I can, hi Kim, Kimberly, excuse me. Yeah, so you can raise sponsorship for that. And I'd love to connect with you specifically on different, on how to do that, help you through that. But yeah, so basically, what we want you to be raising funds for are actual activities that benefit members more than just, not to say just the business meeting when people sort of hang out and schmooze, right? But so a networking event that's not something that AGU does that subsidized ticket for, it's something that your section would pay for directly out of your section funds and solely out of your section funds, then that's something that we can work together on.
Okay, and then,
So,
okay, thank you for the clarification, but like,
absolutely.
The student event can be paid for in part out of the board sponsored funds.
Yes, that's
and
fine.
So, and so that's
That's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I would love to get in touch with you and I'll send you an email separately.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, any other questions? I'm looking at the chat. There's a +1 for Kimberly from Martha. All right, anything else, anyone? Got a couple more minutes. All right, well then with that, I guess we'll let everyone go. And we look forward to seeing you next month. And please let me know topics that you have in mind. Some of the ones that are coming up, I mentioned about the learning strategy that will be in August. The communications team will be back in July with Heather Goss, who's on here. Hi, Heather. To talk about some of our kind of outreach activities and things like newsletter templates and social media. So maybe a few tips there. And a few more topics will come up along the way. But again, we want this to be an opportunity for sections to connect with sections. So please let me know your topics and I may reach out to some of you with topics too. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, well, thank you for everything you do. I know volunteering is a lot of work, particularly here, and that's on top of your work life and your regular life. So thanks for all you do and see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.